One day, June 18, 1959. "Look," George Reeves whispered, "I'm dead already. Can't we leave it at that?" I hate my work. Well, not all the time. Just when I get a headache from dealing with bullheaded movie and TV stars. Reeves sat in the booth in the Brown Derby restaurant on Wilshire, hidden under a heavy beard, dark glasses, and a darker wig that made him look like a dark Harpo Marx. A sketch of the real Harpo hung on the wall behind him among the rows of Hollywood caricatures. The blonde seated next to him patted his hand gently. "You don't have to whisper, baby." Her name, I'd been told, was Naomi Lugosi, but I figured that, like so many things in the Hollywood of the 50s, it was staged. Her hair was blonde, long, and flowing, making her look like Veronica Lake, except I could see both of her dark, tarnished eyes. My hair, on the other hand, needed a trim and had a white streak that ran from my forehead to my crown. I was a bit too thin to be considered ruggedly handsome, with brown eyes, 5'11", a habit of interrupting, and a persistent sinus condition from our wonderful L.A. air. "I'm just tired of people mourning over me," George said, "like I was a god or something." Seated across from him and the girl, I shrugged. "You were sort of a god to millions of kids, you know." Reeves, of course, had been famous for his portrayal of the Man of Steel on the Adventures of Superman TV program. "But I was a joke to adults. No one over the age of 11 took me seriously. Typecast into Kittyland. Do you know what Disney did to my role in that wagon train movie? He cut me down to a walk-on." George scratched under his wig and above his left ear. "I think this rug is giving me head lice." I knew full well what had happened to Reeves's part in Walt's "Westward Ho, the Wagons." During the preview screenings, you could actually hear the audience gasp when George came on screen, and the hushed word, "Superman," rolled around the audience like muted thunder. "Not to mention what happened in From Here to Eternity," the big actor in the trench coat complained while he fiddled irritably with the salt shaker in our booth. The same unwanted recognition had occurred at the pre-screening of the Columbia Studios' Burt Lancaster feature. George's meaty part was cut down to nothing because audiences recognized him the second he appeared, and the director knew that it broke the film's narrative flow. It was all too much for Reeves. He became totally fed up with acting and, in the end, took the easy way out when the circumstances presented themselves. He had come to me weeks earlier, looking to hire me to help with some of those same circumstances. On top of everything else, George had gambling issues, and local mobsters, like L.A.'s finest hood Mickey Cohen and his known associates, were starting to send not-so-veiled threats about paying up. The blonde Lugosi lit a Camel with a tiny butane lighter. I didn't know much about the lady, but George vouched for her when we'd set up our meeting today here at the hat-shaped restaurant. The plan was to see if he and I could identify a small-time hood who had been muscling Bob Cobb, the restaurant's owner, into offering patrons off-track betting under the tables at the Brown Derby. Horse racing. Derby. Get it? In the city of angles, everybody has one. George looked at Naomi, his face a scowl. "This was not part of our original deal, you know. I'm supposed to be on a train east to Pittsburgh." The long-haired blonde patted his hand again. "The Bureau has it covered, baby. We spot this creep, and we'll have the connection we need. Then you can go on to your new life." There was a firm, assured tone in her voice that made me understand that the Lady Lugosi wasn't just any dumb blonde. I studied her for a moment. "I get it now. You're his handler. You've got his back covered." She smiled broadly at me. "Baby, I've got his whole body."